He's Alfred.
We're Black Dice Gaming.
So today we're going to be continuing our discussion on the affiliation breakdowns, and one of my near and dear to my heart affiliations, the Guardians of the Galaxy. They got a lot of character, a lot of spunk, but Guardians, not an affiliation that gets a lot of talk online, a lot of chatter. But I think a really strong affiliation, and as the games start to develop, affiliation that is really starting to come into its own. So, just some of our general thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy. I think, first of all, they got a really big roster. So 8 different people to choose from. You have a lot of flexibility. You have a lot of options, clearly. You can play really high body count lists at really low point levels and be very effective. They have a wide variety of point options, and they have a couple gym bears. You can tweak it there too. I mean, there's just a lot of flexibility in how your roster construction is, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, I love all those characters, and the sculpts are fantastic on them as well.
I mean, they're one of the few affiliations where you can be in affiliation for 7 points and still have, that's for 3 characters, and so you can put in 2 more characters into that 7 points. You can put 2 5-point characters.
That's brutal.
And still be Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, that's crazy though. No other affiliation can do it.
No.
Now, I don't know if you want to actually take Nebula, Rocket, and some other 3-pointer, but you can. So, besides the flexible roster, we also have the condition game, which is something they do really, really well. So, between the Crew the Milano card, which we'll discuss more when we get to the other cards, but between the ability to negate conditions for a turn, and then the amount that they throw out themselves, and they have their own unique condition in Ronan, with the judgments. I mean, it's really strong. It's really strong. I mean, you have 2 separate characters that can throw out 4 conditions by themselves, in Ronan and Quill, Star-Lord. I mean, that's a ton of conditions to be thrown out on a turn-by-turn basis. And
that judgment condition's dirty.
Yeah, the judgment condition is really nasty. So, I guess we probably should bring that up. That I think is one of the big aspects of Guardians of the Galaxy, is that judgment ability and your access to Ronan and your affiliation. And so what judgment does is whenever a enemy damages a character that is near, in Ronan's bubble, he throws a judgment on that enemy, and whenever they take damage from an enemy attack or effect, they don't take any damage. They don't gain any power, rather. So your power generation on damage from enemy effects is gone. So, I mean, that just changes, that fundamentally changes the way that the game operates.
Yeah.
So the catch-up mechanic that is built into the game, I'm getting beat up, but at least I'm going to get some resources for this so I can maybe try and catch up with them. That is gone. So now you just beat people up, and if they don't get rid of it, they don't get, now they're just sitting on their wounded side, and it's like turn 1 or whatever, right?
Wow.
They got no power unless they sit and been saving it or something. So, yeah, judgment is really, really brutal, and one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of Ronan.
I mean, really, what point is there not to have a Guardians team without Ronan? I mean, really, that judgment 1 alone is rough.
Yeah, he's a really strong character. I mean, it depends on your point levels and what you're running, but I think almost always Ronan showing up. And then, lastly, one of their other strengths is just that ease in which you can include outside characters from outside your affiliation. Because you have so many point options and so many different options to choose from, you can very easily fit in, your MODOKs or your Thors or Ebony Maw or whatever.
Seriously heavy hitters.
Yep, it's very easy to throw them in. Very easy to throw them in. And so that'll bring us, to our actual roster for Guardians of the Galaxy. So you have Star-Lord, Peter Quill as the leader. Surprise, surprise. And then you got Gamora, her sister Nebula. You have Rocket and Groot. And then you have Drax and Angela. So a lot of choices, a lot of people to choose from. And of course Ronan. Duh.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, 8 different options. 7 for now, but once Angela comes out, eventually 8 people. That's a ton.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, the only affiliation that has even close to that amount is Avengers. Avengers has more, I think, once Doctor Strange gets added on. But yeah, it's a lot of people to choose from. A lot of people to choose from. So.
And then it works with a lot of people. I mean, the whole idea is part of me wants to make a team and then put Thor in there so that you have the whole...
I think that's really the nice thing about the Guardians of the Galaxy is that they just pair very well as your second team on a roster, just because Gamora slots in so well to so many teams. Drax is just, one of the best 3-point options in the game. So, there's always spot for someone like Drax on your team. Ronan is disgusting, just a huge control piece, one of the best control pieces in the game. So
Nebula's a scalpel, just slicing through.
You just have a ton of options to choose from, and they just slot so well into a lot of other rosters.
Oh, yeah, so tasty.
Whether you want to pair, you can pair up with Cabal or. We'll get to that. We'll discuss maybe a little bit more when we get to the affiliations you should pair it with, but.
We got ahead of ourselves with that one.
Just a little bit. No, for now we'll discuss the leadership ability, which is winging it. So this is a little bit unique among the leadership abilities in that you have to you use it at the beginning of the turn, and you have to pay a team tactic card to actually use the ability. And you choose one of your characters, and you put 3 winging it tokens on them. And what those winging it tokens do, you can spend 1 at a time for each attack or defense roll that you make, and it lets you reroll all of your dice. So it's all all at one time. You don't get to pick and choose, but still a full reroll. That's really strong, really strong. And yeah, the opportunity cost is kind of high, but it's good and very good in scenarios where maybe I brought MODOK. And my aim lackey, MODOK got focused down and he got killed. And my aim lackey card, I didn't get a chance to use it. And now, instead of being a dead card, a useless card, or hell, even in Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe they pop Groot or Rocket, and now my We Are Groot or my Deadly Duo is not useless. It is fuel for, vengeance.
Jeez. I think that's fantastic.
I think that's obviously the ideal scenario you want to be using it, but sometimes if it's a crucial turn or you need you need a character to die, you need something to happen. Maybe you gotta toss your brace for impact or something else. Your advanced R&D. Maybe you gotta throw it to the side.
Yeah, but really, with as much as we love advanced R&D,
it's tough, but would I rather have a card, or would I rather potentially knock out this character and win a game?
Yeah, it's a big anomaly. You have to break some eggs.
Yeah, pretty much. So, it is a strong ability, a really strong ability, because you can use it on offense or defense, So,
yeah.
But, yeah, that opportunity cost is obviously very high for it. And so, some of the, that'll bring us to some of the cards, the affiliation, exclusive, and adjacent cards. And so Guardians of the Galaxy themselves actually only have 1 Guardians exclusive card, which is one of the, maybe the second best affiliation exclusive card behind Wakanda Forever. It's just
that's true. Yeah.
Bonkers, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think Crew the Milano is
very
right
close.
Up there, man. It's
very
also
close.
Ridiculous. So Crew the Milano is all of your Guardians of the Galaxy, so they have to actually be on your roster card. They pay 1 power, and they remove all special conditions from themselves. And if that wasn't good enough, for the rest of the turn, they are immune to conditions, so they cannot have any conditions placed upon them.
It's like, I put judgment on you. Nope.
That is just absolutely bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
You almost always want to pay the power. sometimes if you don't pay the power, the people that you didn't, now become targets for people. And there's characters like Hawkeye that can reach out and grab you. I would almost always, if you got the power, just do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're 100% sure, basically, that you're not going to be affected somehow by a condition, or maybe the team doesn't have a lot of conditions that you have to worry about. But it's becoming more and more rare as more and more characters get, more affiliations are released, So, I mean, against defenders, this card and this ability is going to be so huge.
Yes. Yeah, especially because Doctor Strange is a tank.
Oh, yeah.
The question is how much was that again that they had to pay?
1 power for each person.
So advanced R&D would be quite useful in this.
I mean, you just use it second term. You're not using this early, By the point where this is a valuable card, turn 3, turn 4, maybe, you should have the power easily to fuel this. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You would have probably popped advanced R&D before you even use this.
True.
And then some of the other... So that's the only specific Guardians of the Galaxy card. The other adjacent ones, we have Deadly Duo, which is the Rocket and Groot one, which allows Rocket to make 3 different attacks against targets. They have to be different targets, but 3 different attacks. If you can line that up... Now that is the problem, right? That's the trick. Is lining it up so you have actually 3 different targets all in range of you. And you got to be within range. I mean, you're probably going to be within, pretty close range of Groot anyways, but it's just something you do have to consider, is you do have to be definitely within that bodyguard distance for that card to be able to trigger. But...
And not just that, but that gun that
And this is not an attack profile card, so this is 3 free attacks, essentially.
Ugh.
So Rocket could have 5 attacks potentially in a turn.
That's
really
unbeatable.
strong.
Yeah, that's an unbeatable card too.
I mean, you definitely want to play into your strengths. You kind of want to set it up. Maybe I want to play Gamma Waves, or maybe I want to play, maybe I want to play a scenario that's more clumped.
The rubble pile. Because everybody's focused on getting the rubbles.
Potentially. Maybe the alien crash site.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And they scale up pretty well. So.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Guardians is a affiliation. They can play really well at low points. I think Wakanda Herbs. The 2 15-point missions, I think, are some of their strongest ones potentially.
That's funny. Because of having so many and yet the cheapest ones.
Well, it's because they have those. They can bring a lot of bodies to those missions, and I mean, Drax is solid. Drax is. I mean, he's doing a lot for monster. 3 threat. Okay, and Ronan too, especially in a fighting mission like Gamma Waves, when I'm getting guaranteed, attacks, and I can get those justices off. Even if you daze me, or KO me, I can still get the attack off. I get that Kree Justice. I'm throwing out all these conditions. I mean, he's just a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah.
So.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. The other card, the other Groot card we have, so this is just for Groot, is We Are Groot. It's a big AoE heal centered on Groot. He pays 3 power. He heals everyone within the AoE, 2 health. It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. It's a good ability. Especially if you can get multiple people under it, and he sees himself, obviously. It just really depends on whether you're bringing Groot or not.
Oh, yeah.
If you're trying to go heavier on Guardians, if you're trying to play Guardians exclusive, I think, Groot. If you're going heavier on your roster on Guardians, Groot makes a cut.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think if you're just trying to throw in, some of the good Guardians as a buffer to my, to my first list, my primary list, maybe Groot doesn't make the cut, and then.
I think one of the other things we kind of missed when we were talking about the characters, and I didn't think about this till now, is about Rocket Raccoon and that automatic cover that he gets.
I mean, it's okay. It's
You
not
know.
a bad ability, you know. It's just there's a surprising amount of people that ignore, you know, cover, line of sight. A lot of the people that are going to be, you know, trying to fight them.
Yeah.
There's like a surprising amount of attacks that do that, you know.
So it's not as impressive anymore. Yeah.
I mean, he just 3 health is he's really fragile. So if people
Glass
are
cannon.
if people exactly if they're attacking him and he doesn't have Groot nearby to heal, you know, to shunt him,
Oh yeah, that bodyguard.
he's kind of screwed anyways. So
Yeah.
and then our last card we have is the Daughters of Thanos card. So that is the Nebula and Gamora card. And after one of them attack, they both pay 2 power. And then the other one gets to make an attack against that same enemy target. So again, Nebula, I think if you are going on a more Guardian heavy roster, this is a card you might see. But also, just kind of, Nebula honestly does not make the cut on a lot of my lists. And so this is a card that I'm not playing Nebula. I'm just not going to use most of the time.
With the new people that are playing, is it like Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight where it's a chain activation, or is it an extra move like with
No,
the
it's just
Weird
an
Bird?
extra attack. So
Okay.
it's a free attack. That one or the other get to make. It just has to be against the same target.
Okay.
So yeah, those are their cards. I mean, you have a leader that has fly, so they're pretty good with drop off.
Yeah.
Problem is, your best drop off target, Ronan, Quill is not big enough to bring him along. So unfortunately,
That's sad.
yeah. But I mean, drop off on Gamora is still plenty sweet, or Drax.
Yeah, because they both really have a lot of attack-heavy options.
Or whoever else, you know, that you're bringing along. But yeah, definitely, they, you know, drop off is a very good inclusion in those in your Guardian lists. I would definitely try and put that combo in. Run it in mine frequently.
Oh yeah.
And so, I think now brings us to a good point where we should have our discussion on the gem bearers in the faction. So we have 2 people that can have the same gem, which is kind of weird for a faction, but you know, unless you're the Black Order.
Yeah.
But for Guardians, you have Star-Lord, obviously, gets the power gem, and also Ronan. And so, you know, there's been a lot of debate and discussion about who should have the gem, whether you should bring the gem at all. Personally, I think I'm a big fan of the power gem, and I'm a big fan of the power gem on Ronan, because throwing out turn 1 judgments is solid, and outside of Avengers is not something he can do. So, yeah, I'm really, really a big fan of the power gem on him. And also, he hits like a freaking tank.
Yeah.
So, fueling up, giving him 3 power to, I mean, this is a very easy, common scenario where you throw out a judgment turn 1, and, you know, you're making 3 power every turn. So, you made 3 power. You just used 2, so you have 1 left. And then turn 2, you start with 4 power, and now I can throw out a Kree Justice.
Oh,
That's
goodbye characters.
yeah. So yeah, have fun dealing with that on your turn. That's horrible. So it just fuels up his destructive potential in such a major way.
Plus that grenade option, where he basically explodes.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing too, is that even if they start focusing him now, because like yeah, he has the power gem, and yeah, he kind of is a huge problem that you need to deal with. Even if you do choose to deal with him, I still have guaranteed attacks in my, you know, when I'm KO'd or dazed. So
That's vicious.
there's like really nothing you can do about it. He's gonna get some. It's just a matter of how much he's gonna get. And so for me, I think Ronan definitely the person that you want the power gem on. And I mean, not only do you want Ronan on your team, but you want the gem on him. You know, not that the gem is bad on Quill, but it's just much more effective.
Makes
on
more
Ronan.
sense.
Yeah. I mean, you're either not bringing the gem because you don't have points that fit it, or it should be on Ronan, in my opinion.
Exactly.
And so that'll kind of bring us to our list discussion and, you know, the core what we consider the core of the Guardians, and I think without a doubt that's Quill, Drax, and Ronan.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 points right there without any gems. I mean, that's a strong 10-point flexible core. You have, ranged energy attacks. You have a physical attacker. You have a lot of conditions. You have, a flyer. You got throws. You got just so many options in that team. So many different avenues.
And just off that little bit.
I mean, that's only 10 points. We still have a bunch of different ways that you can augment and other characters that you can throw into those lists. So whether you're playing at 15 points on something like Wakandan Herbs, maybe I throw in the Power Gem and I throw in a 4-point character. Maybe I, Power Gem and Gamora or something, or Power Gem and Vision or whoever. And so in addition to that, also at the higher point values too, I throw in a 3 or a 4-point, 3 and a 4-point character at 17 points. I'm still an affiliation. I still have my strong core. Boom. I mean, this is easy to do.
And like I said, it's always good to bring in Thor because we really do know who the leader of them is.
I mean, Thor is just a great 5-point option, and yeah. This is a team where you can throw in those 5-point options, and you can manipulate your points around it very, very easily. Some of these other factions, it's harder to bring 1, or even 2. I mean, this faction could bring 2 5-point. Out of faction 5-pointers easily.
Oh yeah, yeah. Another one that's disgusting that we've talked about before. Unfortunately, it was off camera, but we've talked about before was Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Now you've got even more conditions.
Yeah, so he brings some of the conditions. Yeah, you don't have.
And that long distance.
Yeah, I think for that reason, once Ghost Rider gets released, I think Ghost Rider is going to be. You might be seeing a lot of Ghost Rider and Guardians of the Galaxy lists.
Ghost Rider's a 6, right?
Ghost Rider's 5.
5? Oh, okay.
But I mean, he paired really well with Ronan too.
Oh yeah.
And you have that synergy. You're like, oh, you're attacking my people? I'm getting power, and I'm going to throw some conditions on you. Enjoy.
And it's like, oh, you're going to attack Ronan? Here's Judgment.
Yep.
There's just no way to survive this one.
Yeah, you attack Ronan, here's the Judgment, and now Ghost Rider's getting power. Oh, you attack Ghost Rider, here's the Judgment. Have fun.
Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna be quite a fun pair. I'm looking forward to that one.
I'm actually looking forward to painting the figure alone because just the sculpt looks fantastic on that one too.
Yeah, we'll save some of our Ghost Rider talk.
Yeah.
The Defenders video though might be coming up here soon. You never know. But yeah, I think that is I think that covers most of the good. Some of our top picks for the honorary Guardians. And
we always mention her. We haven't mentioned her yet. Shuri. we got to bring her in.
Here's the honorary Shuri mention. Shuri, she's awesome. Play with her, I guess. Try her out.
I just noticed we mentioned her and everything.
There you go. But yeah, so just to round out this discussion, our last little bit here is the affiliations that Guardians pair well with. And now, like we said, Guardians pair well with a lot of affiliations really well. And so since you have, whether you're trying to only have, throw in 3 Guardians or 4, however many, I mean, you can throw in a very small amount to your roster to augment and have a nice backup to rely on. Because, I mean, it's really a low investment. You could throw Quill, Drax, Ronan, and Crew the Milano, and that's a very small amount of your roster space in regards to cards and roster slots. So
now I know that when you like playing, you like putting music. I think the next time we use Guardians of the Galaxy, it has to be 70s and 80s. It makes sense.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But I mean, some of the good affiliations that I really like Guardians with is, we discussed this in the Black Order video, is the Black Order, unsurprisingly. Having that ability to, especially for these gem-bearing factions. Pairing with another gem-bearing faction is a really big boon to your list building and your flexibility. So you're covering 2 bases with 1 with having that gem. And so having Thanos with your power gem and having Ronan or Quill with your power gem, that power gem is getting double duty. So it's not reliant on me playing Guardians all the time or playing, whatever, faction or whoever all the time. It's useful. And it's, unless you're going to just throw in a gem bearer, the random gem bearer character into your rosters because you want to get more usage out of it.
Yeah.
It is a good, especially for tournaments and stuff, it's a very good, very useful thing to keep in mind to get the most, bang out of your gems. Because, these things do take up a slot, So the opportunity cost on these gems it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other good affiliation, particularly that I like with Guardians, is Web Warriors. So you have another faction that has a lot of cheap options and flexibility in their roster construction with another cheap 10-point core, and so you can really, Gwen and Miles can so easily be thrown in so many teams. They're really solid 3-point options, and between them, Venom or Pete, really in any faction, it's just a lot of the Guardians are good in Web Warriors, and a lot of the Web Warriors are good in Guardians. So just naturally the two together, and the Guardians themselves are a little bit more brawly and less control in the strict sense outside of maybe Ronan, But even then, most of his control is revolved around conditions. So whether it's applying the judgment or, he has to attack to get the stagger off with the Creep Justice. Actual, moving people around and stuff. Something they don't really have a bunch of. So the Spider People also help shore up that a little bit,
So how about Avengers? With that whole -1 on the first superpower? That'd be another good one.
Guardians you can really pair with so many factions. So they pair well with Avengers. There's a lot of good Guardians that go well in Avengers. Having, like I said, Drax, making that throw even cheaper. Making Ronan's Judgment, only 1 power. These are big things,
Yeah.
And also, same thing like for Cabal. One of my favorite things in Cabal is having Ultron drop off Ronan in the middle of the field and having those two to deal with,
That's horrible.
Yeah, have fun. So that is to me, we started off this discussion, I guess we're going to end this discussion with the best strength for Guardians of the Galaxy is how flexible and how easy they are to include, in your roster building and your list building. They're a nice solid faction. They got some nice tricks that some of the other factions don't get, and this immunity to conditions. They're solid. I really like Guardians, and I think more people should give them a try. So,
I agree.
got anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you guys for watching, really. It's awesome to have the time to talk to you guys.
Yeah, so, we are very, thankful for you guys watching, and we can't do this, guys, without you guys' support. So be sure to check us out on Patreon, see how much you can, if you're willing to donate. Check us out on some of our other platforms, Instagram. We'll be streaming some live games here pretty soon on Twitch, and exciting stuff, folks. So
smash
be on the
that
lookout.
subscribe.
Tell your friends about it. Without further ado, he's Alfred.
And he's Tony.
Happy
trails.